there is a lady from Mpumalanga who, I think it's called Mary or something like that. So the first meeting I attended of MK, there was a decision, I didn't even know who she is. There was a decision to expel her, and then another meeting. And actually, in the first meeting, I even said that, please don't expel comrades, it's too early, let us go and engage with them. And it's in the minutes of MK that said, don't expel her, further engagements and all of those things. Then another decision was taken, because some of the decisions had to be written and signed by me, even when you have expressed a different view inside. Then she asked for a private meeting to brief me. Then I said, I can't do that. And I said it actually in the national officials meeting that majority of times, comrades would want to meet you privately and be buddy-buddy so that they're protected when they do wrong things in the organization. And that is the conduct that we got to deal with. You know, I'm very close to Mzobe. We always say that we have known each other for more than 20 years, but he was head of presidency. When I was doing wrong things, I'll write him a letter that you're not doing your work properly as head of presidency. And wrote it in an organizational report that, yes, and he will also give me criticisms as well that, hey, you're too closed up and all of those things, but that is how organizations are run. You can't run it through friendship in terms of how you then get to conduct yourselves. But if there are other issues, we can be able to listen to that. MK is not tribalist. It's not a tribalist organization. There's no tribalism. I never got to encounter tribalism. But I know there are people who mischaracterize the organization because also it was still at its formative stages. So there are people who truly believe that it's an organization to liberate Zulu-speaking people. So there will be those who will say that. And they will say that to the president. And there are those who believed that, but it's not the overall character of MK. These extremely brilliant comrades and activists that are in Kontowe season, who understand politics properly, organizing, mobilization, and there's never been a problem of tribalism which can be elevated. I know there was an incident now of Teniso, brilliant young man who is the leader of the MK Youth League, made a legitimate, honest, innocent mistake about referring to Tsonga-speaking people as Shangan and everything else. They like it. For some people, it lands well. For some people, it doesn't land well. But I think a substantial number take it derogatory, as a derogatory reference. But he didn't mean bad, like he was not doing it in a vindictive and tribalist way. I know him that Teniso is a proper comrade who has got a bright future in the politics of South Africa. So there's no tribalism in the organization. I don't agree with the analysis of Julius about President Zuma. I don't. I've got to interact with him and all of those other things. But I know there are times where I think former president or former secretary general who worked with him for the longest time in the ANC, Halima Motlanthe, I think when he did an interview with Sizwe, he said that the limitation with President Zuma is that sometimes he can be persuaded about an issue outside of organizational structures and want to take a decision based on what was the persuasion outside of organizational structures. So that becomes a dilemma for any, particularly as a Secretary General, because once you have taken resolutions collectively, your expectation is that you must collectively communicate and defend those resolutions. And that time he has now reconsidered the decisions that were taken before, and then it then becomes difficult to move forward in terms of. I think that observation, which I share, was already communicated by former SG of the ANC, Halima Motlanthe, when President Zuma was in office. So that dynamic is a limitation generally, that he meets way too many people. And in the process, sometimes he meets people and then he says, "Nakuza baba," and then those people interpret that as if he agreed to whatever they were saying. Like, and that is the dynamic. But I don't agree at all that he uses people. He is trusted by the people of KwaZulu-Natal and by the people of South Africa. The journey we're building was to expand the message of what he stands for. And he is not opportunist in terms of how he communicates political principle. Like even in closed spaces, there could be a... I'll give you an example, for instance, that the Moroccan embassy wanted to buy the position of MK, to say that MK should support Morocco's oppression over Western Sahara. And then there are those closer to him who visited Morocco, were promised money, and then they came back and said MK must agree with Morocco's oppression of Western Sahara. Then when he realizes that they won't understand this, then he called me into the meeting. Then said to the Moroccan ambassador and political secretary that we are not going to agree with you. If we are going to have engagements with the Kingdom of Morocco, we must talk to the SADR here and the Polisario Front, which is the liberation movement fighting for the liberation of Western Sahara.